Welcome to Unusual Due Diligence. In this fresh episode, we are taking a look at how public LinkedIn activity from Andrew Toy of Clover Health impacts the price of the meme stock Clove. I am your host, Poseidon, and let's dive in. What if every time a Ninja Turtle was found walking around with a bucket on their head that you earned $1? That cause and effect is the idea behind today's show. In prior videos on Clover Health, I, Poseidon, God of the Sea, covered the Clover Artificial Intelligence, a public post by Andrew Toy, luring former Googlers, and even a Neptunian price prediction. Those, let's call them classes, are linked below in the description about this video. The continuation of the Clover story has us looking today in an unusual place. How so, you ask? Well, let's take a look at building a price prediction model by taking advantage of price information correlated to Andrew Toy's public activity on the website LinkedIn. Have you ever noticed how LinkedIn is similar to a metropolitan subway transit system? We're going to use the idea behind that transit system to build a model, one that provides an opportunity to capture $1 for every time we find a Ninja Turtle with a bucket on their head. Here's the thing. If the cause and effect holds, and if you can execute on the model, then you're looking at the possibility of future gains that you should totally send my way. I wouldn't call this model day trading necessarily. I have an unusual name for it. The name is Turtle Power, Data-Driven Turtle Power. It's catchy. Maybe I'll use that name again. What's on the screen here is data, and not just any data. On the screen is a long list of URLs. Each one of the URLs shown on the screen links to an article that Andrew Toy of Clover Health either posted, commented, or liked. I catalog that information. Now, the methods behind this list are pretty straightforward. You see, while eating lunch, I created this list and made a mental note if Andrew commented, liked, or made a new post of some content on LinkedIn. That's all the evidence I need to satisfy the experts out there. Now, in LinkedIn, you cannot get the date of a post. You can extract a date like epoch-based number from the cache media associated to a post, but without getting into the technical details of picking dates, I settled on vagary as acceptable for our demonstration here. The critical piece is to be consistent in your model. Here's a life lesson. You can be consistently wrong and still get the right results. The purpose of this prediction model is to show a teasing cause and effect that, with some refinement, might be of use to the more active traders out there to find those Ninja Turtles. I mentioned that I gathered a list of likes, comments, or posts. On the screen here are the totals of what I collected. As shown in this table, there are a total of 30 activities from LinkedIn. That'll be enough for us to determine if there's a good reason to build an even better version of this model. Spoiler, there is. Okay, so of the total number of activities, how does the data distribute? Well, of those 30 activities, 19 are likes, 6 are outright posts, and 5 are comments. For a busy executive, this feels okay. Now, let's keep that in mind and go back to the data. When collecting the data, I mentioned I identified about when the post was made. Now, in LinkedIn, the nearest date you can get is an approximation. So, using a general approximation, I assembled you this model by building the column here on the screen showing a label of days. So if the activity shown on the LinkedIn website claims it was a week ago, then I just jot down the number of 7. If the post was 2 weeks ago, I put 14. For those who wonder what math I used there, it's not math. I divined the number from my pizza last night that had 14 pieces of pepperoni on it. For those who know, pizza is the superfood used by the turtles. And so you can see here in the spreadsheet, I continued that for all 30 activities that are on the screen. Activity, estimated days, and so on. So now on the screen, what am I showing you? Okay, first we have the list of activities. The type of activity, was it a like, a post, or a comment? And then the general date that we believe the activity took place on. The next step, date computation. We want to know the first workday that falls after the LinkedIn activity was created. So if we believe the activity came out, say, Friday, then the first workday would be the next Monday. Why? Because part of the inquiry here is if you buy when the activity occurs and then hold for one workday, what happens? The answer will surprise you. The next step is to extract the price. Now we're going to extract the price by making use of a stock history lookup function, the details of which let's just ignore. This is not an Excel tutorial. All we care about here is knowing when the stock price is on the day the post came out. At this point, we put in all of this information into the sausage grinder and outspit some numbers. It isn't enough to put the numbers in a spreadsheet. We've got to go deeper to find the secret of the use. You see, the next step is to pull back and look at what happens price-wise with the data. We need to use some examples here, so let's get to it. And I'll take a step back and look at the data more holistically. The first example is this activity shown on the screen. Notice where Andrew Toy performed the LinkedIn activity here of liking a post about the strategic partnership with Time. If you bought at that time and then held for one day, you would have seen a gain of $1.77 per share. That's a 17.65% gain. Oh, one little detail. There are 24 vowels in the LinkedIn URL for this activity, by the way. Well, let's remember that for a bit later. As mentioned, there's even more going on here. If you had noticed Andrew Toy's flurry of activity back on the 21st of June 2021 and held for one day, you would see a gain of 13.88%. That's $1.70 per share. Nice. So with these two examples, it's pretty intriguing. Identified here, there's definitely something happening with price every time Andrew Toy does something on LinkedIn. Always something with upside. Time to start looking at the data holistically. But first, let's ask the question, based on when we set the price, what is the average change of price for Clove when Andrew performs an activity on LinkedIn? That's a lot of words. What's the highest value thing Andrew does on the subway? According to the data collected, the answer for the highest average value change to the price is when Andrew makes comments, followed by page likes, and then full-on posts. According to this unusual data set, whenever Andrew makes a comment, the average price improvement is about $1. Turtle power, right? So I'm not saying Andrew should go and make a bunch of public comments, but I do think it's worth setting up and paying attention when he does. Remember earlier when I said 24? It was not the television show. Here's the question. Do the number of vowels in the LinkedIn URL matter when it comes to the price change for a T+1 trading day? And the answer is yes, it does matter. Here's the wild thing. It would seem to be the case that the number of vowels is correlated to a price direction to the upside. The more vowels, generally speaking, the better. There's an outlier here at 26 as shown on the screen, but if we look at the shape, it's a very clear bell curve that's emerging with a bullish upside. What does that mean? Well, let's say it means holistically all of Andrew's activity on LinkedIn is materially positive, material events that benefit Clover Health, the company. And well, the vowel length is just a happenstance correlation. Or is it indeed? Another unusual correlation here is that the length of the LinkedIn URL. The length of the URL would, on the surface, have relationship to price action. The preference would, based on the graph on the screen, be towards a longer URL, providing more overall positive benefit. And that is especially true if we then look at the data per activity. Consider what happens if you look at the number of vowels in the URL, and then the type of activity performed by Andrew, and then the impact to price. So in the case here on the screen with the post activity, you're saying the more vowels there are, the more positive enrichment to the upside of the stock price. However, the reverse appears to be true for comments, meaning comments seem to have more value overall, but on a per comment basis, it would make better sense if there were fewer vowels in the URL of the LinkedIn post. I'm just showing you the data. What does this all mean? What this means is that here at Unusual Due Diligence, I've shown you a model that informs how Andrew Toy has the power to influence the markets by simply tapping the like button, which you should also do for this video, making a comment, and you should do that too, and even writing a post. YouTube. As I wrap up this video, let me say this. If you do end up using a model similar to this and achieve great results, I won't expect you to share. But just remember me, and someday we can ride the wave to the moon. This is Poseidon. Make waves, my friend.